Okay, fellas, start of the new European qualifying campaign. Now, I know a few of you guys weren't here last season, but we need to try now and consistently make the group stages of the Champions League. So exactly the same as last year, winning all of our games, and hopefully this is the final year we have to play in this first qualifying round. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 83 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode we have a few more transfers, a domestic recap, and then we do get stuck into the first qualifying round of the Champions League, taking on Partizani of Albania over 2 legs. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we are starting off the European qualifying campaign for 2028-29 in today's episode. If you missed yesterday's one where we did our European roundup and also a league game against HK as well as some transfers already at the club, then I'll leave a link to that over in the top right corner. And we have made a few more since then, both outgoing and incoming, in terms of the squad that is going to be taking place in this first qualifying round against Partizani, a team who we really should be beating, hopefully, quite heavily. 2-star reputation, which I think is actually a little bit higher than some of the teams that we've taken on in the first qualifying round over the past few years, but still, they're from a non-playable league in the game. Hopefully, this is a team who we should be able to beat pretty comfortably and end our time in the first qualifying round, because of course with our rise up the coefficient charts in yesterday's episode, this should be the last time that we do enter Champions League qualifying in the first qualifying round. Should be going into the second qualifying round from next season. But we have made some transfers, as I suggested, incomings and outgoings. One of them is a big out in terms of a player who was pretty good for us when he did spend time at the club, but when the bids came in for him, they were above his market value, and that player was Xavier Mbiamba. At least it was above his market value when he was one of our players, but he has gone to join Fortuna Dusseldorf for £300,000. He had a market value somewhere towards the higher range of £275,000 was the upper limit of that when he was at the club, according to our staff. So we decided to let him go, and we have brought in a new centre-back to replace him. He was a great aerial threat with Xavier Mbiamba. There you can see how that value range has changed now that he has gone to Fortuna Dusseldorf in Germany. Apparently he is worth now between 2.8 and 5.8 million, so that is not ideal, but he was sort of getting towards the stage of his career where he wasn't going to make any more progress. He was fluctuating between 3-star current ability and 3.5-star current ability, as well as potential. As I said, he did a brilliant job for us, did Xavier Mbiamba, 62 appearances, 10 goals, and was an absolute rock at the back for us after joining us for the 2023 season. So that would have been our first season in the Islands deal. But he was a great centre-back for us, but the bids were coming in over his market value when he was at the club. Obviously now, probably should have held out for a bit more money, but he has gone to Fortuna Dusseldorf. We have also let go of Philippe West on loan to Hafnarfjordur for the rest of the season. But we have signed 3 more players, one of which is the Mbiamba replacement. First off is a free transfer we actually made quite a while ago. He has only just recently joined us, and that is Scott Guest, who joins us from St. Mirren. He is a central midfielder who does look like he has some fairly good attributes to offer us here. 2.5-star current ability, but 4-star potential. Very good leadership, which could be quite useful should the likes of Nicolosi Caviglia in particular leave over the next few years, because he is now starting to get on in age. But he is a good squad player. A little bit worried about that 1.57 metre height, but being a midfielder, I'm hoping that is not too big of a deal. Has a few good green attributes, and hopefully he can do a decent job for us, having done a good job at St. Mirren since being let go by Liverpool in 2025. A decent free transfer there, Scott Guest from St. Mirren. But then we spent big to replace Xavier Mbiamba, and this is a player who will be starting in these upcoming games against Partizani, and that is Gaetano Duplisco. We signed him from Penarol for £2 million. He looks very much in the same vein as Mbiyamba, but 4-star current ability, 4-star potential, and maybe even 5-star potential. 11 hitting, 16 jumping reach. He has some great physical attributes. His mentals aren't too bad, and where we need them in the technicals, he's pretty good there as well. So I really do rate this transfer upgrading on Mbiyamba. We are paying him a fairly hefty wage. He was also wanted by Bologna. They put a bid in for him after we did, but thankfully we got hold of him, did have to offer him a star player contract, but he is a very good pickup. He is Uruguayan, but is also part Italian, so that means he does not count as an EU player, which is another feather in his cap, and he has done a good job for Penarol over the past 3 years, months, working his way into their first team, and has also already scored 2 goals domestically in his 2 appearances as well, so looks like he has hit the ground running. Hopefully that continues in the Champions League qualifying, and that does mean we have a new centre-back partnership here at the club now of Duplisco alongside Tiago Polo, who we did sign from Portugal in yesterday's episode. And our last signing that we did make was definitely one for the future, but he looks really good, so I couldn't help myself. This is Jorge. He is a Brazilian come Portuguese left-back, has just turned 18 years old, but already 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential, albeit that last star again is whited out like has been the case with a lot of our recent transfers. We now have a lot of depth and young talent coming through here at left back, but the age that we've signed him at, being part European, means that is another feather in his cap, and he should be a very good left back for the future. Signing him from Sporting of Portugal for £850,000 up front, a decent job in a couple of appearances for their B team, but that potential was too good to ignore. We snapped him up before any big clubs did become interested, and as I said, he just looks really good for an 18-year-old, especially being Brazilian and part Portuguese. It is a big help in terms of being able to meet the registration requirements, not so much in Europe, but domestically only being allowed to put out 3 foreign players in league games is still a little bit of a headache for us. So the more players with European nationality that we can snap up, the better, and he looks like a very good prospect for the future. So what that means for our team going in to these games is we have that new centre-back partnership of Duplisco and Paolo, but apart from that, for the most part, we have everyone else available who was available. We've just had to make a few changes to our squad for this first game, just managing some players' workloads, making sure that no one gets seriously injured, hoping that that is not an issue that we do have to deal with too early on here in Champions League qualifying. And we do still have a little bit more money, and we might even do a few more transfers leading into the second game of today's episode. But before we do get into this first leg against Partizani, just a quick recap on what we have done since yesterday's episode, where we did take on HK, winning 3-1 away from home. Very comprehensive wins in both the second and third round of the Mulkabikaran over some lower division teams. And in between that, we did win all of our games in June, some of those very comfortably over the likes of Keflavik, Valerijevic, a bit of revenge on Breda Blick for the League Cup semi-final, and then a 4-0 win over Nats before finally dropping points for the first time in the league season. Their most recent game with the rotation, a 1-1 draw at home against Akranes. So that was a little bit disappointing, conceding a goal in the 84th minute after Corbo opened the scoring in the first half with a penalty, but things are going pretty well domestically since yesterday's episode off the back of that League Cup semi-final loss, which we are trying to move past, but we are on top and very comfortably as well. The only team yet to taste defeat, 28 points after 10 games and 7 points clear of Valerijevic. So looking pretty good to try and clinch the league title for, I believe, what would be the 6th season in a row. And we'll quickly have a look at the rules for the league these days as well, just to clarify which positions do qualify you for what, now that we did have that change at the end of yesterday's episode, seeing as we did rise up the coefficient. The top 2 teams get Champions League qualifying in the second round, the third place team in the Europa League, albeit that is depending on who does win the Icelandic Cup, so that could change if someone else wins the Icelandic Cup. It is exactly the same with that second Conference League qualifying spot as well, but third should find their way in the third qualifying round of the Europa League. That is a big addition to this Icelandic League and European qualifying here, and 4th and 5th now will enter the second qualifying round of the Conference League. So at the moment, it does look like, if we go back to the league table, Valerijevic will join us in Champions League qualifying next season, Keflavik in the Europa League, and HK and Filkir in the Conference League. So we do now have quite a few teams entering Europe at the end of this current season. But hopefully we're about to have our last game in the first qualifying round of Champions League in this save, because it's usually a round which we do get through fairly comfortably, and we'll come back shortly for the first leg of this tie against Partizani away at the Air Albania Stadium. And here are the team sheets for this one, not paying too much attention to Partizani on the left, but just running you guys through what we have done on the right-hand side, both with that heavy workload that we try and just rotate players for at the moment, and also we still carry some suspensions over from that second knockout round tie in the Europa League at the end of the last European season against Brighton. So in terms of our first team, our defence is actually first choice now with Duplisco and Paulo, our new first choice centre-backs. Our midfield is the big area where we have changed things. Galtasson still there, but Goffey starts as the Mazzala and Bayer as the box-to-box midfielder, with both Nicolucci, Caviglia and Arnason not quite at their best. They're quite injury-prone at the moment, so we'll just give them a rest for this first leg. And also Frederick Larsson in for Chaka Traore. Chaka Traore is another player who is still quite injury-prone, and we've also given Jorge a bench spot straight in from Sporting. We'll see what he can do, seeing as Chat Zarkis is one of the players who is suspended, as is Gabriel Corbo, and that is why Bedrzicki is on the bench as well. But this should be a team more than capable enough of picking up a win away from home, and hopefully we can start off by trying to match what we did last season and winning all of our qualification games. That should give us a good leg up to trying to improve on our coefficient from 5 years ago. 13 minutes gone. First highlight of this one is a free kick to Nygaard. Just goes wide, looking for that top right corner. It's been a pretty even game so far in the opening 15 minutes, unlike the tie between Molfeheva and their opposition, but that is the one that we are keeping an eye out on for the second qualifying round. Molfeheva already 2-0 up. I believe they're playing a team called Julita, so it looks like they might be our opposition, albeit still a long way to go. But we do have another highlight here in our favour. Hopefully we can get on the scoreboard sooner rather than later and get our advantage here away from home. Nice ball there for Malizio. Goffey and Benjamin Rubio slots him through nicely. Goffey coming in for Porstein Arnason, and that is a decent start after 16 minutes. Our second highlight of the game, albeit we did have one which I didn't show you guys because it was from an offside situation, but good short passing. Goffey with one of those nice runs just opens his body up, slots that away in the bottom right corner. Volsungur 1-0 up after 16 minutes. Now up to the 34-minute mark, we are still in possession, albeit been quite a while since that first goal, which is not ideal. We would want to put these guys to the sword nice and early. It's another chance there for Goffey, albeit from a long way out, forces a good save out of the Partizani goalkeeper, and hopefully we can extend this lead here, trying to pick out Duplisco there at the near post. We do get the ball back. Nygaard starts to cut inside. He forces a good save out of the goalkeeper. Then Goffey with a shot, which is blocked, and Patrick Nygaard loses possession there. So a few good chances for us and amongst that highlight. Still 1-0 up inside the last 10 minutes of this first half. And right off the back of that, it was Partizani who were on the attack, but I believe that was Galtasson who gets possession back for us, and hopefully we can create one more chance at least here before half-time and try and get a cushion goal away from home. We are going to try and match what we did in qualifying last season, because if you remember, we did not lose a single game making our way through to the group stages of the Champions League. That will be the goal, just because it would be a pretty big help in trying to surpass what we did in our first year in Europe, because we do have to overcome a 5.5 coefficient. And I did think we did quite well in that first European campaign. Great chance there for Patrick Nygaard. Blasts it wide, still 1-0, 5 minutes shy of halftime. And up to the 44-minute mark, just before halftime, we have a free kick to Prisco at the far post. He hits the post. Scored a couple of goals in his first game, that one. Oh, so close. And we are going into halftime only with a 1-0 lead, which is actually a little bit disappointing when you look at the stats. We have been by far the more dominant team, albeit it does actually match our XG. So we'll just tell the boys potentially to get their act into gear a little bit more here in the second half. We'll also bring on Chaka Traore for Frederick Larsson, struggling on a 6.3 rating, but happy with the scoreline. But it would ideally be a little bit better at this stage. We'll up the tempo as well, see if we can put the hammer down on these guys in the second half, as it's 1-0 halfway through the away leg. And 8 minutes into the second half, we do have a corner here. Prisco at the near post gets that past the goalkeeper, but they do have someone on the line there do Partizani to clear that. We'll see if anything else comes from this highlight. Great long shot there from Galtason, but Vata does well to tip that over the bar. As the commentary said, we have another corner here. We'll see if anything comes from this one. We can't pick out our new Uruguayan come Italian central defender at the near post this time. We just knock it about outside the box. Patrick Nygaard tries to find someone on that left-hand side. He was offside, and it remains 1-0 approaching the 55-minute mark. Now up to the 57-minute mark, Patrick Nygaard's picked up one of those little niggly orange injuries. Pat Ainscote to come on for him. Still only 1-0 with just over a half hour left. And up to the 76-minute mark, still no highlights since that opening one in the second half, which is a little bit disappointing, but Goffey down to a red heart. Arneson to come on for him. Hopefully, we can get one more goal here before full time in the first leg, because it's still only 1-0. And inside the last minute of added time here, truth be told, this is a little bit of a disappointing performance considering how well we did in the first knockout round of this competition last year. I should say the first qualifying round. Great chance there for Rubio to give us a cushion goal, but his chip goes over the bar, and that will do it. We can only pick up a 1-0 win away from home. Hopefully, we'll do a lot better in the home league, but we will show you guys that second league. We didn't have to do that last season against the Hamrun Spartans. It was a game we should have probably won 3-0 when you look at the XG there. Fairly happy with the performance, but we do need to be a lot more clinical in front of goal, but we should have some of those players that we rested for today's game back for that second leg. We'll come back shortly though and run you guys through potentially, hopefully, a few more transfers that we have made off the back of this game before we do get into that second leg with a 1-0 lead. And we are back prior to the second leg against Partizani, and unfortunately Patrick Nygaard's injury from that last game was actually a red injury, so time to roll the bit.
Yeah.
And he is not going to be out for too much longer, truth be told, but it is a red injury which will keep him out for the next few days, 1 to 4 days. It was only a gashed upper leg, so not a serious injury, but one enough that we can bust out the Mark Richardson. He has some good painful cramp going into the second leg from the former New Zealand cricket opener, but yeah, just using that bit where we get the chance. It's nice to hear Mark Richardson in pain. But before we do get into the second leg, we have actually made a few more signings here at the club, so time to run you guys through those. First off, we have signed quite a good-looking South African midfielder here. The reason that we signed this guy, he was on our shortlist for quite some time, but Ostende, the Belgian team, who have done quite a good job in Europe in a few seasons of this save so far, put a bid in for him, so we decided to match it, and thankfully, he joined us as a squad player. This is Nathaniel Satoli. He joins us from Super Sport United, one of the teams that we managed in last year's Hexagon Challenge. But you can see he looks like quite a good midfielder for 20 years old. He is a foreign player, not ideal, but in the end, for the price that we had to pay for him, it felt like too good of an opportunity to turn down. He's probably going to usurp Werner Bayer as our backup box-to-box midfielder, so we might have to do something loan-wise in regards to that, but some of those green attributes in particular in the technical section and also that balance in the physical section does mean that he does look like a very good backup player, especially considering that Nicolosi Caviglia is now around the 27, 28-year-old mark. If a good bid comes in for him, it might be time to let him go, albeit he is a very important cog in terms of our leadership at the club these days. But Nathaniel Satole joins us from Supersport United for £475,000, which for a player of that quality is quite a good price. I think a few good years for Supersport United after joining them on a free transfer from the Kaiser Chiefs in South Africa. And then we made a transfer which is actually going to work out being quite a bit more convenient than I thought, and that is because Pat Ainscote has just gone to the Olympics with the American team. So this is actually going to end up being a very useful transfer for the next couple of rounds of Champions League qualifying. This is Nicholas Zimmerman. We have signed him from PSG, so that should really clarify any issues with signing this guy because he is obviously a very good player. 3.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential. That is one of the highest locked-in potentials that we do have in this squad. He is another player, very good physically, decent technically and mentally, and we only had to spend £600,000 on him, and he has done a good job at Kairat and Olympiakos on loan, as well as playing for the PSG second team over the past few seasons. He looks like a great pickup under his usual value at £600,000. Luckily, we had no other clubs interested in this player and thought it would be a good chance to snap him up. And that deal only looking better when off the back of signing him, Pat Ainscough has gone to the Olympics. That does mean that with us not being able to register either of these players for the second leg against Partizani, we are a little bit weak on right wingers, of course, with Ainscough at the Olympics and Nygaard out with that injury. So what that does mean is we've had to shuffle our wingers around. Frederick Larsen is starting this time at right wing, Chaka Traore at left wing. But apart from that, this is our first choice 11. A few changes on the bench as well, with some players coming back after serving their suspensions from those Brighton games in that first leg of this first qualifying round. But hopefully we can win by a much more comfortable scoreline here in the home league, because this one is still all to play for. 1-0 as we're about to kick off the second leg of the first qualifying round of the Champions League against Partizani. And 9 minutes into this one, we do have our first highlight as a corner. Nicolucci, Caviglia, Thiago Polo at the near post. One thing that we did do off the back of that first leg is switch the sides which our centre-backs are on, and that might already be paying some big dividends. There is a near post corner, and our new Portuguese centre-back Thiago Polo opens the scoring 1-0 Volsungur after 10 minutes. And shortly off the back of that opening goal, we are in position again inside the final third. You can see down there right behind my head that Molfahava are already 2-0 up. And there's Ian Carlo with a great chance. Unfortunately, comes off the upright, but does look like if we can just hold on to this lead and get past Partizani, we will start off next week against Molfahava, and we will see what happens from this corner. It's Polo again at the near post, this time Frederick Larsen delivering that ball in, and that change at centre-back, just with the sides that they're playing on, looks like it is going to come up big for us in this game, and that is exactly the start that we needed after a bit of a scrappy result from that first leg. 2-0 Volsungur after 12 minutes, and we have another highlight here immediately from the restart. So lots of action early here in the second leg, but we are now in a strong position, 3-0 up on aggregate. Maybe it would have been nicer if we did have that home league being played first. That's a lovely touch there from Frederick Larsen to get past his man. He slots through Benjamin Rubio, and after 13 minutes of the second leg, it is 3-0 Volsungur. This is much more like what I expected against these guys, Partizani. It was a lovely touch there from Larsen, albeit not too sure if it was intentional, but nonetheless, he slots through Benjamin Rubio. This time his chip over the goalkeeper comes off. 3-0 up on the day, 4-0 up on aggregate, approaching the 15-minute mark. 19 minutes gone. It's a goal kick here for Partizani after a very nice start for us in this game. Missed header there by Duplisco, but thankfully Paolo was there to tidy things up for us, and we do keep possession. We nearly lose possession on that left-hand side there through Chaka Traore, but this already is looking much better than that first leg, being a lot more efficient with our chances in front of goal at home than we were away, but we might get a few more goals in this one. And Benjamin Rubio's through on goal. Great chance there, but blasts it wide. Still up by 4 on aggregate after 20 minutes of the second leg. Up to the half-hour mark, another highlight here starting from a free kick in our favour. Duprisco is on it, and we start to make our way forward here yet again. Down the left-hand side, Galtason up to Meza. Chaka Traore to Galtason. Plays it up to Nicolucci. Larsen. What can he do? He should be able to pick out someone there on the right-hand side. Instead, decides to switch it down the left, and it's a push in the box. So thankfully, we are going to get a penalty chance here, despite us not using Ian Carlo before there down the right-hand side, which seemed like a mistake. Luckily, it was not. Benjamin Rubio looks for a double in the game as well as Paolo and slots it away in the bottom right corner. And this is all looking very routine now in the second leg. Now that we had a look at these guys away from home, as I said before, being a lot more clinical with our finishing in this one. 4-0 on the day, 5-0 on aggregate, with about 13 minutes left of the first half. Now up to the 36-minute mark, it is a free kick here for Partizani, but it's a poor one. Arneson is able to intercept it, and can we make it 5-0 on the day before half-time? Arneson back to Galtason. Good to see most of our players today on green ratings, just Sarah Fellini and Chaka Traore who are not on green ratings. And truth be told, I don't think Sarah Fellini has had much to do in this one, but he does now. He gets the ball back, chips it straight back out to Duplisco. Galtason back there for Paolo. Ian Carlo will get something going here from the back and try and really put the foot down on these guys here. And Benjamin Rubio gets a hat-trick chance. He just puts it wide. Still 5-0 on aggregate. 8 minutes shy of halftime in the second leg. And that is half-time here in the second leg. That was a much better performance in front of goal than in the away leg. You can see we're on a 2.36 XG this time, largely overperforming it instead of underperforming it. 5-0 up with 45 minutes left. We should be through to the second qualifying round, probably taking on Molfahevir, looking at their result as well. Maurizio Goffi can come on at halftime. Galtason picking up a yellow card late in that first half, so we'll just take him off. No need to keep him out there. 45 minutes left though, in a good position to make our way through to the second qualifying round. And first highlight of the second half is going to take place here at the 52-minute mark. It is a throw-in to Partizani, and they look to play out from the back so far. Just the one shot in this game. It was not on target. We have had about 20 shots and have got 4 goals out of those shots. As I said before, much better performance in the second leg than what we did deliver in the first leg. And Chaka Traore makes his way down the left-hand side, plays that back for Meza. Anason, good short passing here. Goffi from a long way out, straight off the bench. An absolute super sub goal, that one from Maurizio Goffi. That complements the one that he got in the first leg, the only goal from that first leg. He is starting to try and work his way into this first team. Not quite sure where we would fit him, as Anason has also been playing quite well in the role that we usually play him in, but that's a wonderful finish from a good 30 yards out. 5-0 Volsungur early on here in the second half of the second leg. And up to the 67-minute mark here, we're going to be forced into a substitution. It's another little niggly looking injury here for Chaka Traore. We are a bit light on wing options with those injuries and the Olympic situation with both Nygaard and with Ainscoe, but Werner Bayer is on the bench and apparently can play on the left wing, so we'll see what he can do here for these last 20 minutes or so. But we are in a very safe place, 6-0 up here in the first qualifying round. And straight off the back of that substitution, we do have a corner. Larson tries to pick out Paulo there for his hat-trick, that time straight at the Partizani goalkeeper. It does remain 5-0 on the day, 6-0 on aggregate. We've got 20 minutes left. Molfahevir in the other game are winning by a big margin yet again, so they are definitely the team who we will be taking on at the start of next week. They are making absolutely mincemeat of Julita over both legs, although I do believe they've got a red card in both legs now. And we do get a goal, and it's another super sub goal, this time Werner Bayer, given far too much space on the left-hand side. That's an encouraging start there for the regular box-to-box midfield backup option out on the left wing. That's another string to add to his bow, especially with the addition of Nathaniel Satole, but he was just given far too much space there. Rockets that into the top left corner. 6-0 on the day, 7-0 on aggregate with 20 minutes left. Up to the 86-minute mark here, we are pretty much through to the next round. No way that Partizani are going to get past us now with a 7-0 advantage with only 4 minutes left, and we might even get the chance here to extend it, albeit we do play that ball back to Sierra Fellini. But everyone out there on green ratings now, which is nice, especially those players who have come off the bench have already grabbed a goal each, which is very nice. Ian Carlo was on the attack there, but a slide tackle does fall to a Partizani player, albeit they give the ball straight back to Anason. Werner Bayer to Rubio. Great chance here for Caviglia, puts it wide, and it does remain 6-0 on the day, 7-0 on aggregate with only 2 minutes left. But yet another highlight here leading in to full time, even though this game is well and truly wrapped up for us. We try and pick out Frederick Larson there on the right-hand side. He has performed well, considering that we did have limited options to put out in this game on that side. We should have Zimmerman available for the second leg. Werner Bayer is going to chip the goalkeeper on the left-hand side, and he gets 2 goals off the bench. His first start at Volsungur as a left winger, off the bench anyway, I should say, and he picks up 2 goals in the space of 20 minutes or so, and he is on a hat-trick alongside Paulo and Rubio. 7-0 on the day, 8-0 on aggregate, leading into full-time in the second leg. And right on the brink of full-time in this one, we're going to make one last change with Larson down to a red Hart Bjarkason to come on for him for a minute or so, just to make sure he does not pick up any injuries. But that was a very comprehensive performance. We do pick up a 7-0 win on the day. That would have been quite nice in the first leg, but a much improved performance. And we will go through to the second qualifying round of the Champions League to start off next week. Should be against Molfahevir, from what I could see down there in the bottom left corner before. But as I said, a much better performance in the second leg of that one. And we do go through 8-0 over Partizani. And back in the inbox off the back of those 2 legs against Partizani. As I said before, that first leg, very much a struggle. Not too sure what the media think here, saying the first leg triumph helps us past Partizani when we won the second leg 7-0. I suppose technically it helped, but that second leg win certainly more helpful. But nonetheless, we are through to the second qualifying round of the Champions League, and indeed we are taking on Molfehava, and that will be an interesting tie, because if we go and have a look at the results from that first qualifying round, it is 2 of the teams who won their ties by the biggest margins taking each other on, albeit quite a few teams did win by big margins in that first round, but they did beat Drita by 12 goals to nil. Truth be told, not too sure how strong Drita were, being from Kosovo, but Molfehava are from Hungary. They come from a playable league in game, so should be a bit fitter than Partizani just were. They are a 3-star reputation club as well, so it looks like we might actually be getting a bit of a tougher run in Champions League qualifying this year, but it is a team who we should definitely be beating, especially with the additional quality that we have added to our team over this past transfer window. But 2 good wins there over Drita, albeit, as I said during the game, Drita did pick up red cards in both of those leagues, but it was still a very comprehensive performance from those guys, and hopefully we can get past them and secure ourselves at least a guaranteed spot in the group stages of a European competition for this upcoming season. But that is who we have got to look forward to at the start of next week off the back of that 8-0 win over both leagues there against Partizani. Before we do wrap up today's episode, we did play 1 league game in between those 2 Champions League qualifiers. It was away at Nuts KR, and we picked up a pretty good win there. Frederick Larson and Melcy Martins with first half goals. Benjamin Rubio with 1 in injury time, beating Nuts KR 3-0. And what that means, bang on at the halfway stage of the league season, as we are clear by 7 points on top, albeit with a game in hand, so that could extend out to 10 points in a very strong position at the halfway stage of the league season to try and make it 6 titles in a row domestically, still on for a domestic treble, not a quadruple, because we stuffed that up off the back of that loss to Brighton, as you would have seen in yesterday's episode. But that will do for today. If you did enjoy it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And until the start of next week, we will carry on Champions League qualifying and hopefully make our way into the competition for the 2nd straight year, starting off with that tie against Molfehava. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.